How's it going, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. I wanted to make a quick video and talk a little bit about Resident Evil 9 Requiem. We just got to see a little bit of gameplay that they released, and I just wanted to share my thoughts. From what I've seen, it looks as though it's going to be a more horror-oriented game, at least from what I've seen of the gameplay. And that's pretty much what I prefer when it comes to Resident Evil and the franchise in general. But you know, when it comes to the newer games that Capcom is putting out, you know, 7, 8, this new game, you know, and I'm guilty of this as well. I think I've given Capcom a hard time in the past, more so with the the remakes, especially with RE3 remake, and I feel justified in my criticisms of that game. But when it comes to the newer titles, I personally feel as though I can be a little bit more laid back and less judgmental of the newer material that they're trying to put out. And that's because I know making a video game probably isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. You know, do I think 8 was a good game, Village? I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece or a very good game, but, you know, I mentioned Village in my video I put up of my critique of RE3 remake, and I would give Village, you know, a 6, you know, a 7. Village was okay. I think they did some things well, you know, some things really good, but some things I really didn't care for. And that's okay. You know, I don't expect to, like every single decision that Capcom makes. You know, I think that's a unreasonable way to feel. Especially when, you know, we're talking about a franchise that's been around for a long time. You know, these games, you know, what is it? Their 30th anniversary coming up. You know, they've been doing this a long time. And I'm sure that making a new game, coming up with ideas, all the work that they have to put in to making these games, I'm sure it's not easy. You know, I don't know anything about making video games, but, you know, when I stop and think about it, you know, it's probably very difficult. So when I see people, you know, just complaining for the sake of complaining, nitpicking every little detail, especially with these newer games, I think it's unfair and unreasonable to be that way. Am I trying to shill for Capcom? Absolutely not. I will call out and speak my mind when it comes to these games. You know, I'm that way in general. I'm gonna speak my personal truth and how I really feel, and I'm not gonna hold back or feel bad about it. I know they don't necessarily like that, especially when you have a very negative view on their games. You know, it kind of feels like they kind of hide you in the algorithm. They don't want you to, you know, go full blown hater mode on their games, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think what I saw of the gameplay, it looks good. You know, it looks like a horror game. You know, will it be a solid game from start to finish? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when it comes out. But I think people need to, you know, stop being so nitpicky and just go complain for no reason whatsoever. It's unfair. Yeah, I think these people working on this game have put a lot of time and effort into making this, and I don't care who you are. You know, if you put a lot of time and effort into making something, and somebody comes along and just craps all over what you've made, I'm sure that's not a good feeling. And that's all I'm gonna say. You know, I'm not shilling for Capcom whatsoever, but I just wanted to make this video and you know, just give my honest opinion. Yeah, when it comes to the newer titles like Village, you know, I'm more laid back in my criticisms of the game. You know, when it comes to the remakes, I feel differently because, you know, the older games are really beloved video games, you know, especially when we're talking about the original trilogy 1, 2, and 3. Those are, you know, when it comes to survival horror, the genre, those are the bread and butter of survival horror. And, you know, if someone asks me what games they should play if they want to play a good survival horror game, I'll always say, you know, the PS1 games, you know, 1, 2, and 3. You know, even with how old they are. And that's another thing, too, I wanted to talk about, is the release of the classic games onto the PS5. I think Capcom really made a good decision releasing those games onto the current console, as far as PlayStation 5. I think that's the only console it was released on. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, I think it was long overdue. You know, I think they should have been put on newer consoles years ago. But, you know, I wanted to thank Capcom for doing that. I think they made a really good decision. Those are games that people need to play. If they are interested in getting into survival horror games, you know, you have to start where it all began, and that's Resident Evil. You know, Shinji Mikami, he started this whole genre. So, I'll always recommend those games to anyone. So, yeah, I wanted to mention that. I think it's really good, and they run really good on the PS5. Very, very pleased and very happy that they finally did that. So I think that's all I really wanted to say. Hope you guys are doing well. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.